Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is something that I have been so in the mood for and I'm so excited to film, and that is all romance books reading vlog. I will be reading all of these romance books, so I hope you enjoyed this one, and let's get started with my TBR for this video. So I have some new releases, I have some booktube classics at this point, and the first one that I have here is none other than You and Me on Vacation, also known as People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And I'm going to be honest, I mentioned before in a video somewhere on my channel that I think it was 2 years ago that I read Beach Read, and I enjoyed that book. Objectively speaking, I enjoyed it, but it was not the romance that I was expecting it to be, and it was not the romance that I wanted. With that in mind, I was not really in the mood to pick up her newest book, but people have been raving about this one so much that I just decided to give her another chance. So this is Friends to Lovers, if I'm not mistaken. We have these best friends who used to go on vacations together, and they had like this amazing friendship and all of that, but they had a falling out. So now they are giving each other one last chance to kind of redeem that relationship and mend things again. I am interested to see if this will focus more on the relationship, because Beach Read focused on a lot of the other things. So I have to be honest, I have very high expectations for this one. So I hope it doesn't disappoint, because the girlies that love this really go hard for it. Then we have one that just came out this year. I think it was May or June, and this is Yerba Buena, and this is one that has been buzzing and has people very excited, and I am so hyped for it because it just sounds like something that I will love. So this is sapphic, so we have two women, and the thing about this book that has me so excited is the fact that supposedly we see these women separately and we understand who they are and their lives and their ambitions and all of that separately before they get into a relationship. And then obviously we explore that relationship and that romance and all of that. And I love that so much. That has me so excited because I love character studies and I love character focused books. So having that with a sprinkle of romance sounds incredible. I'm so excited. And also the fact that it is sapphic has me really excited, because I don't have that many sapphic books on my bookshelves, especially romance, and I want more of them. I want to read more of them, and so I have very high expectations for this one. Also, I always hear incredible things about Nina LaCour's writing. This is the first book of hers that I'm going to pick up, so I'm excited. Then we have another one that on the one hand is underrated, but at the same time I feel like more people have been picking it up recently, so maybe it's not as underrated anymore. And this one is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and from what I hear, this is incredibly romantic but incredibly heartbreaking. So from what I remember, I might be wrong. On all of these, I might be wrong because I'm not the best at keeping track of synopses. But moving on. Supposedly, this one is about these two people who, I don't know if they had just a fling, like a quick summer fling, or if it was a one-night stand or something, but they had something sometime in the past, and they are back in each other's lives, and I think they are reevaluating if it makes sense for them to give each other another chance and give a relationship a chance, perhaps. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of second chance romance. I know that is a very popular trope and a lot of people love to explore it. I don't think I've read enough of those books to really have an opinion on them, so I'm excited to see what I think about this one. But the thing that has me really excited is that people say that this book and the relationship in this book is so angsty, but in the best way, and that you really feel for the characters and everything they go through. Then we have another classic, It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I do not know that much about this one because the thing that has been used to describe this book is that this is a rom-com inspired by Schitt's Creek. And that means nothing to me because I've never seen that show before. So what I know is that we have this Hollywood it girl, it says on the back. And I'm assuming she is very spoiled and maybe Paris Hilton-like, I'm assuming. And I think her family kind of makes her go to some place that is not her comfort zone, and then she falls in love with a fisherman, I think. I think that's the vibe. I know this is a grumpy sunshine trope, perhaps a little bit of enemies to lovers. I have read other books by Tessa Bailey before, and I really enjoyed her writing style and the way that she developed her characters and their relationships, and the whole dynamic of the relationship, what she chooses to write about. And so this one has me really excited because it's an author that I know and have loved books from before. Finally, the last book, the book of the year, the romance of the year that has everybody buzzing and raving. If I'm honest, I don't think I have heard or read a single negative review for this book. Everybody says that this book is incredibly messy, but objectively amazing. So I don't know, but I'm really excited. I love Akwaeke Emezi. Their books are beautiful. I just finished actually The Death of Vivek Oji. So after having read that, which is completely different from this one, that is very like heavy and literary fiction as well. So this is romance, different genres. But I love the way that they write. So having the chance to read from them in this genre has me so happy. This is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which is also a great title. We have our main character, Faye, if I'm not mistaken, and from what I understand, emotionally she's going through a difficult patch in life because I think she lost her partner or something like that, and she's just now starting to get back into the dating life again, let's put it like that. But then the messy thing is that from what I know, she starts dating this guy and then I think she falls for his father. The thing about that trope is that I am not a fan of age gap romances, either in my books or in real life. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't enjoy the dynamics and the power imbalance in those relationships. So to me, knowing this up front is not a plus. It's actually something that makes me a little apprehensive picking up this book. But because it is Akwaeke Emezi, I am so willing to give this book a chance. This will definitely be a surprise for you and for me. Those are the books that I will be reading for this vlog. So join me and let's see what I think of all of them. I started with Yerba Buena, so let's talk about it while I do my makeup for the day. And I am currently 50 pages in, and already I was not expecting this start to a book. So I'm not sure how this one is classified in terms of genre. I don't know if this is supposed to be actual romance or if this is more of a contemporary or literary fiction, because so far we have just started to get to know our characters and we follow them from a very young age. They are 14 at the beginning of the story, and the idea supposedly is that we get to know them as a whole, as people, before they get into a relationship with each other. That being said, I am so surprised with this beginning, because if this was a literary novel, what has happened so far would be the whole of the story with both of these characters. So the fact that we are already at this point in the story has me really intrigued where we will go further on, because it feels like we have gone through, or not we, but they, the characters, both of them, have gone through such traumatic events already at such a young age, and the fact that we are just taking that and moving right along feels weird. But with that being said, what ends up happening is that this story is ultra compulsive to read, because I started this last night and I am already on page 50, because it is so readable and because everything at this point is so fast-paced. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is my first time reading a book from this author, and I thought, I know her books tend to be on the shorter side, but I thought they would be slower paced, at least. I don't know, the premise of them, the ones I know about, always seems like a slower paced and more contemplative story. So I was not expecting this type of speed, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really curious to see if this will take a lighter turn once they get into a relationship with one another, or if this will just be like a heavier story. My lips kind of match. They're not as pink, but they kind of match. And now I am ready to go and continue on with my reading. Oh, just a quick cute thing. Look at my bookmark. It matches. We're starting off so well. I just finished Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour, and I loved it. And I also kind of found a new favorite. It's not an all-time favorite. It's more of a casual favorite. I don't know if you have those books as well. This is more of a quiet story. And first of all, let me say that this absolutely needs to be turned into a movie. One of those indie movies with beautiful cinematography. I can see it so clearly, those hazy type of images and a lot of nature elements and like close-up shots of hands. I can imagine it in my head so vividly. This is a romance, as the title of this vlog would suggest. I'm reading all romance. But it's one of those very real, present-day romance stories. And it's not those faded love stories, if you will. You know, those like they were meant to be forever and ever, and once they found each other, they never broke apart and all of that. We see each of their stories so vividly and so independent from one another that them being together is very much a choice, and also it's taking place, but it's not at the forefront of the story. I feel like we explore who these characters are and we explore their backstory so much more than their relationship. And whenever we see this relationship develop and grow, I don't know, I just feel like that was not the point of this story. I would actually say that this is more contemporary or literary fiction. Another thing that I loved about this book was their jobs, which is so weird to say. And it's not something that really usually appeals to me in books in general. But I loved what these people did. I love the symbolism of this cover as well. And I really appreciated that one of them was a florist, or at least she was for a time, and then she was flipping houses, and the other one was this bartender, and she created cocktails and all of that. It was so interesting and how they incorporated that in their everyday lives and how it fulfilled each of them. I loved the writing style as well. This is her first adult novel, so if she ever writes more adult in the future, I'll be definitely picking those up. And now the next book I'm going to read is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. If you've read or seen any review online for this book, I think the word that is most frequently used is messy, because we see our main character Faye at a point in her life where things are very difficult and she's trying to, in a sense, get her life back and turn it around. It's the very beginning, so it's not spoilery, but our main character Faye is going through a difficult time because her partner died in a car accident, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been 5 years since the accident, so she wants to put herself out there and try connecting with people again. And we see her slowly but surely attempting to get into these relationships, and already like 50 pages into the book you see what reviewers mean when they say that this is messy, because she is just trying to get a sense of herself again. She is like jumping from relationship to relationship because we get to see her psyche so beautifully explored. We understand exactly where she's coming from. We understand exactly why she acts the way that she does, why she has her guard up with certain people, how she's feeling at any given moment. And so I'm really loving that. I feel like the fact that I know that the relationship or one of the relationships is coming is hindering my enjoyment, my overall enjoyment of this book, because I know that whoever she is with at this moment is not going to be endgame. And I'm not sure that I will enjoy that switch. I can understand already at this point in time how Faye will get herself in that situation and what possibly she would get out of that relationship. I'm just not a fan. And so I feel like I am really taking my time with this one and just savoring the parts that I know I will be fully on board with, because once the switch happens, I know I won't be as enthralled with it. Let's do a little bit of an update because I am finally more than 100 pages into this book, but I have been dragging my feet and it's annoying me so much because I know it's only because I'm skeptical about this trope. It's only because of that, because otherwise I'm enjoying this book so much. I am loving the writing. I am loving the character development and the explorations and all of that. The themes I'm enjoying. So it's really a me problem. I think most people will enjoy this book, will fly through it. Please do not take me as an example in this case. I'm almost done with this book, finally. I will definitely be finishing it today, but I needed to talk about it because there are some things about it that I'm really enjoying, namely the fact that these characters talk. The age gap thing, we've already established this, is just not for me, so I don't enjoy that aspect of the story. And it's astounding to me the fact that they are able to have these conversations and to understand the consequences of this relationship being a thing, but they still go ahead with it. So I have two things that I have to talk about here. The first one is in line with that. This is a weird angle, but it's just, I'm lazy to set it up differently, so this is what we're dealing with. The first thing is about that. I love the fact that this couple actually talks about things, because it's a thing that we rarely see in books, the communication, and here it's perfectly done. They really go deep on the issues. They really explore the dynamics of their relationships. They talk things through before they put them in action. They are not being little kids about this relationship. It's the one thing that I always tend to miss in romance books that I rarely see, is a good conversation establishing the relationship and your expectations out of it. There was a part here that I actually highlighted where they were talking and Faye was saying that I'm not worth it. I'm not worth all of this trouble just for you to be in a relationship with me. And she said it like multiple times. And at one point, Aleem says to her, "Do you mean that? If you're telling me you're not worth it, I'll listen to you, Faye." I have no interest in replacing who you know yourself to be with my imagination of you. It's not sustainable in the long term, so if you're telling me who you are now, telling me not to bother, then be clear. Yes, I love that. This feels like a conversation between adults. Yes, more of that in romance, please. If we could have like honest adult conversations, that would be a win in my book. I loved that. But the other thing, I'm still not into this relationship because we don't see Faye really, like, I can understand being overly critical and overthinking things. Hi, hello, that's me. I get it. But at the same time, I feel like we are missing that moment of her just being fully into this relationship. Through all of this book, we see Faye really denying herself, and it's annoying me because we don't see, even in her monologue, we don't see her being fully committed. Even through the consequences, I don't see that passion between them enough to justify really taking that step. Perhaps I'm mistaken, but I'm assuming that Faye and Aleem end up together. But maybe they don't. And I would prefer if they didn't, because it would just make sense with everything that I've been reading so far. Honestly, it would make sense that she had this development and that she had these relationships and that she learned from them. From every single one of them, she learned something different that she will take with her in the future. So far, all I've seen is Faye not being fully on board with any of these relationships, to be honest. Any of these. And with Aleem, he expresses and he really shows that he wants this relationship to go somewhere. And Faye is focusing so much on what could go wrong that she's still not allowing herself to think what could go right. And because she isn't going there, I am not going there with her. And so I'm still on the fence about this, and so I don't really feel like they are meant to be, or that this is worth it, because Faye hasn't shown us that it is worth it to her. And I don't know if that will be like the third act thing, like instead of them breaking up, it's going to be her realizing that she doesn't want to deny herself that happiness anymore. That's probably going to be like the moral of the story. Here I am to talk about this book. I finally finished it. As a whole, I think this is an incredible book if you're dealing with grief, because the exploration of that theme in this book is so nuanced and it's so incredibly human. I really enjoyed it as a character exploration. The only thing was really the relationship itself. Did I enjoy Aleem as a love interest, as a character? Absolutely. The age gap I just could not get on board with. Felt very realistic. They did not at any point glamorize it or made it look easier than it is. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I'm really happy to have read it. I can see why this may be a favorite for a ton of people. And I hope that Akwaeke Emezi writes more of this in the future. I am currently in my car, so if the angle is a little bit odd or if you hear like noise outside or something, I'm sorry. But I think it's fun. It's a change of pace, a change of scenery. And I wanted to talk about You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry, because I started this yesterday or a couple of days ago, and already I'm enjoying this one so much. I am currently on page 64, and I love the way that she is setting up everything. She's setting up the characters, she's setting up the plot of this book. So if you don't know what this one is about, we have these two best friends. They've been best friends for 12 years, something like that, and they have this tradition of going on vacation together for the past 10 years. But 2 years ago something happened. They had a major falling out, a major fight, and so they kind of lost a little bit of that closeness, of that contact. We see from Poppy's perspective, our female main character. We have Poppy and Alex, by the way, and Poppy is at a place in life where she's not really happy. She is supposed to be happy. She has everything that is supposed to make her happy. She has a good job that she enjoys. She has a house. She doesn't have to worry about paying the bills and stuff like that. And so it's weird for her to be in this situation where she doesn't feel happy and 100% fulfilled. And when talking to a friend of hers, they come to the conclusion that the last time she was truly happy was when she was on vacation with her best friend Alex. And so she decides to ring him up once again and see if he's up to go back on vacation and kind of spark this friendship again to see if they can move on from that fight and if they can be best friends again or if it's just not meant to be. That premise alone sounds so appealing to me because I adore the trope friends to lovers. I really enjoy the dynamic of people who already know each other very well and then seeing something else in their relationship. And because everybody raves about this book so much, I am hoping that it's the one for me. And so far, I'm really enjoying it. I have very high hopes for this book because it doesn't feel like we have a January and Gus situation. We don't have this stupid animosity between them. It feels like it will be justified. From the little snippets that we've seen of their relationship, I enjoy it. I don't know who the Emily Henry girlies have fan cast for this book, but for some reason I feel like Poppy would be played so well by Florence Pugh. I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing already. I don't know if I've been seeing just too many Florence Pugh edits on my TikTok or something. It's possible. But I just feel like Poppy is this bubbly character. She's very loud. She's very outgoing. Florence Pugh would make an incredible Poppy. I don't know who Alex would be. I don't have a sense of him yet, especially because we are seeing from first person POV from Poppy's perspective. So Poppy feels more well developed and fleshed out so far. I am halfway through People We Meet on Vacation. This is one of those more of your typical romance books, and so I'm flying through it, which is great, and I'm really enjoying it. I have to say that the characters are a little boring. I don't feel any connection to these characters, and so I'm just reading it, and it's engaging up until that point, but at the same time I don't feel the need to reread it. Reading this book one time will be enough. Finished another one. Let's talk about it. I enjoyed this one more than Beach Read, so in that regard this one was a success. But all in all, I don't feel like I really connect with her characters. There's something about the way that Emily Henry writes her characters that I feel like I should like them, but there's something always there that makes me feel like they are somewhat distant from me, like I don't really know them fully. There's a little something missing, a little element that is just not there for me. I'm sad about that because this, in theory, once again has all the elements for me to enjoy it, because we see the characters slowly coming to terms with their feelings, or better, we see Poppy, because this is first person POV, so we see Poppy slowly coming to terms with how she's feeling for Alex and accepting those feelings and trying to do something about them. But there was something that was a tiny little bit off that made me not really click with this story, with these characters. This is not my favorite example of a friends to lovers, because this is very clearly two people who got to know each other. They were friends I would say for the first year of that relationship, year and a half of that relationship. And from then on, both of them kind of developed this crush, and neither of them really knew what to do with it, so they just fostered it for years and years and years on end, to the point that they did something about it and they talked about it. I don't really love that because I think it takes away from the friendship element. I feel like we always get this sense of at any point this could turn into something else if one of them opened that door. And it feels like the friendship itself is not enough for them because there's always that question of what if, and I don't appreciate it. So, I am here not to update you on any more of my reading, but actually to close off this vlog because unfortunately I am no longer in the mood to read romance books. And so I know myself, and I know that if I force myself to read something that I'm not in the mood for, I will not enjoy it. And I'll be just skimming the pages. And I don't want to do that because I feel like as a whole, I really will enjoy the other books. And so this will be a wrap up of this video. I read these 3, really enjoyed all of them, and so I don't want to force myself to read the other ones. I'm sure I'll pick them up. I'll probably do a follow-up video to this one and I'll talk about them then, but right now let's just wrap this video up. The first one I read was my favorite of the 3, was Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. I really loved this one. I loved the writing style. I love the way that these characters were explored. This feels like real life. I really enjoyed the discussions that this brought up. I really enjoyed the way that this story was told. The story itself is just beautiful. Then I read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi, and this was my second favorite. Not a favorite, so I didn't enjoy it as much as Yerba Buena, but I still enjoyed it because of the writing. I love the way this author writes, and I have read a ton of books by them. I will continue to support them because I just adore their writing style and their stories. Here, it was very much the thing of the age gap that was not for me, and I couldn't get over it. This is a couple that communicates, finally, but at the same time, it feels like it comes out of nowhere. We don't see them talking all that much previously to them confessing their attraction and their interest in one another. So I had some pros and some cons. I had some loves and hates when it comes to this book, but as a whole I feel like it was a great story, a great book, because once again you explore the characters deeply. The fact that we have certain ideas written down in a book, I feel like it will be very beneficial for people. Finally, we come to the Emily Henry, You and Me on Vacation, also known as People We Meet on Vacation. And I enjoyed this one more than Beach Read because I feel like I went into it with the right expectations. This feels more like a traditionally published romance, and when people were talking about it, that was the way that they described it. So when I picked this up to read it, I thought I knew what I was going into, and I did. My expectations were met, everybody was happy, it was a grand old time. Now, objectively, personally, talking about this book, I felt a little bored. I have to be honest. I feel like her characters tend to be a little bit of kind of doll-like. They feel like caricatures in a way, and I don't really know how to put it any better. They never have that thing of feeling real. I think it's their inner monologue. I enjoyed it an okay amount. I just didn't love it. I'm really not sure that I will be investing my money and time in Book Lovers, her third romance book. Perhaps Emily Henry is not the writer for me, and that's fine. That's fine. So all in all, I think it was a very great not experiment, but a very great reading time, because even though I didn't love all of them kind of incited a reaction, and all of them made me think, made me have a great time, even if I was disagreeing with the characters. I was not neutral about any of these. So in my book, that is always the perfect experience, because I hate it when I'm neutral about books because it feels like I'm wasting my time. Here, I have things to talk about, I have things that I would like to be better or different, and so we get to the end of this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't get too mad that I didn't finish my TBR, and that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye!